league record. The school band had no chance. Undoubtedly, the highlight of his sporting career, as alluded to previously, was pitching a no-hitter as a junior Cardinal, resulting in a newspaper feature as the athlete of the week in Abbotsford. The other highlight, of course, was cheering on his Seahawks to the Super Bowl only 2 years ago. Career and education were important to Sean. He really worried in his grade 12 year about what he was going to do when he graduated. He'd seemed to have made up his mind on wanting to complete an undergraduate degree and then become a corporate lawyer. Oh, Sean, you're far too nice to have been a corporate lawyer. I solicited comments from Sean's teachers and classmates. Words like kind, polite, and respectful were common themes. Sean was also noted for a competitive edge and wanting to turn everything into a contest. Both students and staff said he had a positive outlook, was down to earth, and a very genuine person. There were no false pretenses with Sean. He went out of his way to help people. The girl said he was a ladies' man, but also a gentleman. His teachers noted him for having a million excuses for being late. He had this thing against using his locker. He kept everything in his room as an alternative to using the locker. So in his mind, they were the same. So when he'd forget something for class, he'd ask the teacher if he could run out to his locker. So he'd drive home and get it. In his mind, it all made sense. Perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps, Sean, you would have made a great corporate lawyer. Driving was very important to Sean. He wanted to get his learner's license and then his N as soon as possible. He told Adele that having a license and being able to drive was very important in high school. Sean always wanted to be driving around with somebody, whether it be Megan or Brendan or a buddy. The problem was having the N status meant you were only allowed one passenger. One day he came home for lunch with Megan. As they were leaving the house, Brendan Kuhn came running down the street for a ride. As they turned onto the main street, Brendan ducked down when he saw a police car coming. The police officer told Sean he wouldn't have suspected anything wrong if his friend hadn't ducked. Adele told me shortly after that incident, Sean got a letter in the mail telling him any more infractions and he'd lose his license for 2 months. According to my recollection, that would put him right up there with his older brother Richard and his cousin Daryl for having lost their licenses. At least he would have been in good company, Sean. The whole Phillips family came to be part of my wedding this past July in Ontario. Richard told me that he had a blast taking the day off from the wedding festivities one day with Sean and driving 2.5 hours each way into Toronto to a Blue Jays game. He said he had a great chance to chat with Sean and he valued the time together. Mark told me that a special memory of his that he remembers of Sean is a Seattle Mariners game. Not his first. That probably happened when he was an infant baby. But this dates back quite a few years. It was 1997, and Randy Johnson came close to a major league record with 19 strikeouts in a single game. Little Sean didn't know the players, didn't know who was good, but figured this Randy fellow was quite something. With every batter and every play, Sean cheered for Randy Johnson. He got quite the variety of looks from people nearby, but it was something that Mark fondly remembered of his brother. Adele told me that Sean phoned her up at work a few months ago when she was on a night shift. The hospital paged the call through to her, telling her they thought it was some doctor. When Adele picked up the phone, Sean answered, "Hi, beautiful." Adele was startled and eventually relieved when it wasn't one of the MSA family doctors. But that was her little boy wanting to bring a coffee to his mom at work. On Monday, when everybody gathered at the family house, I just remember Dave confiding in one of his friends that he's going to miss his son, but he felt blessed to have Sean for 17 years. One personal thought that I'd like to share is the depth of Sean's personal generosity at Christmas. Every year he would amaze us with the thoughtfulness and generosity he put into his gifts. The best example I have is with me right here. It was presented to me on Wednesday night by Adele. It was for me for Christmas this year from Sean. Sean had driven all the way down to Seattle to an autograph session with Max Strong, the Pro Bowl All-Star fullback of the Seattle Seahawks. He'd been keeping it in his room and ordered his family not to carelessly let up and let it slip that he'd met Max Strong for fear that I might figure it out. Here it is. Eric, Go Hawks, signed by Max Strong from my cousin Sean. Sean, you're gone now, but we know you're really okay. You were taken in an instant, making many of us realize just how fleeting life can be. We mourn your loss, but we know with a certainty that you are in heaven with the Lord. We wish we'd had more time with you, but we thank God that you're in the most loving hands of all. Though life goes on, we will miss you every single day. We know you're watching us right now, and we want you to look around and see how many lives you've touched. We will love